Scott Russell, I wanted to add some more to the thoughts on the Israeli conflict there. It's funny is that the pieces start to arrive, and I've shared a video which I'll play a clip from now.
Apparently, Israeli defense forces that were supposed to be around Gaza were placed around the West Bank because of security concerns, so that the Gaza envelope was left unoccupied with military. They say around 60 to 80% of that area was left without the IDF forces that were supposed to be there. This raises serious questions for me anyway about Israeli intelligence. What happened? 2 years ago, there was a successful deployment of underground barriers with sensors to alert exactly on these kind of terrorist breaches. Israel has one of the most advanced and high-tech armies. How come there was zero response to the border and fence breaching? I cannot understand that. Personally, I served in the IDF 25 years ago in the intelligence forces. There's no way, in my view, that Israel did not know of what's coming. A cat moving alongside the fence is triggering all forces. So what happened to the strongest army in the world? How come border crossings were wide open? Something is very wrong here. Something is very strange. This chain of events is very unusual and not typical for the Israeli defense system.
Occasionally a comment comes through that is really good, and I do read most of them. A good comment comes through. And so one came from Hannibal on my Facebook group, Two Free Scott, and I thought it was really great to mention what he had to say. And he's talking about how really Iran is being set up. And he's saying, look, the US is not going to do anything about Iran acquiring nuclear capabilities. And they're very close to doing that. And so Israel is faced with having to try to do something about that themselves. And so with the US administration not really being pro-Israel at the moment, they're not really overly supportive. The American people are, I think, but I don't think the American administration is. They are not going to do anything. So what Hannibal was saying is they're setting up Iran. He said, look at where they did it. They did it in the border with Lebanon, an incursion into southern Lebanon. And then talking about how Israel has then had the proxies of Iran that have come, and Iran has told all their proxies to go against Israel. And because Iran knows full well that Israel's trying to draw them into a war. But somewhere along the line here, it's going to be an excuse, or there's going to be a reason to go after Iran. And they're going to go and hit Iran's nuclear program, according to this man. And I can see a lot of sense in what he's saying. So he's just saying, watch out for that. That's Israel had no other option really to preserve themselves. They had to sacrifice some of their own to outrage the public enough and to get people upset enough that they have the reasons and the excuse to go across into Iran and do something about that. Yes, I do still think that there's globalist reasons in the background as well. There's never really one reason. World events are never completely cut and dry, are they? There's always multiple reasons to do things. I think, yes, Netanyahu, under his corruption investigations and the people that have been protesting against the changes to the Supreme or to the court system, from my understanding, so that, Netanyahu's trying to stay in power with that. Now he's a prime minister who's a war prime minister, so a lot more popular. He'll take a bit of heat off of him, so it's convenient for him. I think globalism, it's great because globalism is not great. I don't mean that. I mean, it's great for the globalists. They have great reasons to have another war, help crash currencies and economies, because they're working on bringing about central bank digital currencies. I think that probably Israel, Netanyahu almost got some approval from the powers to be in the background. I think it's also another great reason for them to sort of fade Ukraine out of the limelight. I think ultimately we're just going to see Ukraine fade off and not be mentioned much in the press, because Israel and this war in the Middle East will take over as it's so close to a lot of people's hearts and concerns. A lot of the American public, I believe, are very supportive of Israel, very scared and in tune of what could happen in the Middle East there with Israel. But I think the left-leaning West globalists also want to try to push China and Taiwan to keep distraction there. But really, having lived in America for 20 years, the American, and I am dual citizen, the American people largely are not too concerned about Taiwan and China. They're aware of it, but the Americans are not generally known as being massively switched on to international things. But Israel very much switched on. Israel is very close to the American public's heart, because it's a Christian nation and they feel very strongly about the biblical prophecies and things that are there. So anyway, things to watch, and thank you for the comments, Hannibal. And if you have comments, I do enjoy reading them. Don't always get to all of them, when some of them, there's thousands of them sometimes, but some just stand out as really being worth the time and the comments. So thank you, Hannibal, for your comments there. And let's pray for Israel. Let's pray for Palestine. I mean, I think the other thing I want to just briefly say is a lot of the world events and the things that have happened are not the people in those nations. They're the globalists and elites that are not elite, but they're ruling the world in many different ways. But the common people that are in the homes and on the streets and working their jobs, many of them are not in agreement with the violence and the oppression and the things that have happened. So I want to just say, my heart is for the people of the lands. The Israeli people, my heart is for you. The Palestinians, my heart is for you. The just general people that are good people. Not everybody's a violent extremist. And so just as a quick prayer, I stand with you all and say, dear God, bring peace to Israel. Bring peace to the Middle East.